First cars have to be fun, they have to be cheap, and they have to be relatively reliable. And that's why you're here watching another Ideal video, because you know we have scientifically backed Ideal lists. And this one is no different, with 5 great first cars and an honorable mention, baby, that you can snag for under 3,000 bucks. Making it rain. And one of them can get you into big trouble if you're not careful. Let's go. WRX stands for World Rally Experimental. And you know what else it stands for? The ultimate Hoonmobile. Just look at this thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't think there's a bad angle on that car. Subaru decided to import their newest Impreza back in 2002, and it was known as the GD chassis, and those very unique headlights made this Subi affectionately known as the Bug Eye. I mean, at least it's not the Stink Eye. And this son of a rally car has become a cult favorite ever since. Plus, on the interior, it's pretty practical, with 5 seats for you and all your friends. And if you want to be one of the coolest kids at school, I gotta hand it to Subaru because they build some very attention-grabbing cars. And not only that, but an all-wheel drive system that's capable to keep you grounded and also have a little bit of fun is seriously a lot of bang for your buck. And if you search hard enough, you can find one of these little buggers for around $3,000. And using the negotiations outlined in the Ideal Car Strategies, you could get this thing for under $3K. And that buys you a little 2-liter EJ205 that has a little turb ski attached. And that little power plant pushes out 227 horsepower, which ain't bad. And when the boost kicks in at around 3,250 RPMs, things go from fun to even more fun. As you can tell, this car isn't only just good handling, but it's not that fast nor slow. In fact, 0 to 60 comes in an impressive 5.4 seconds. See what I did there? Go snagging an impressive Ideal T. It's pretty impressive. 22B. That rhymed. Seriously, everything in this car, the engine, the transmission, and the telepathic steering really is just, it all works really well together, making it one of the most fun cars to drive on this list. Oh, and I almost forgot, this thing also comes in a wagon. Yeah, just in case you need a little extra space. And let me answer the question that I know you're asking. Yes, you can put a bed in the back of your wagon. I mean, they don't call them a shaggin' wagon for nothing. Since we were just talking about the Subaru wagon, we might as well talk about the Mazda that tried to knock the Subaru WRX off of its throne. Yeah, this guy. The Mazda Speed 3 was introduced in 2007. It's got all of the good looks, a half-inch drop in ride height, and the price is right. Yeah, these little turbocharged monsters are available right at the $3,000 mark. And this is the little wagon that could, because the dual overhead cam 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine has a little turbocharger mated to it that is willing to please. It'll put out 15.6 pounds of boost. And that's good for 263 horses and 280 foot-pounds of torque, which all that power is delivered to only the front wheels, so you just gotta get used to torque steer. And when you put that power to the pavement, 0 to 60 is in 5.8 seconds. And seriously, when this thing's mated to a manual transmission, it's probably the most fun that you can have on wheels. Plus, being a wagon, there's a ton of usable interior room, which is great for any of the extra gear that you got. And since this thing's pretty zippy, you'll never turn in your homework late. In fact, if you're thinking about the Subaru that I mentioned earlier, well, there's a lot of Subaru WRX owners that have converted to Mazda Speed 3 owners, and most of them don't regret it. For about the same cost, there's no turbo lag, the steering is almost telepathic, and it's just straight up fun to drive. We all know that Miata is the answer to everything, and Honda went directly after the Miata with the Honda Civic Del Sol. Yeah, this is the 2-seater Targa version of the Civic. And yeah, it looks a little bit funky, but don't let the looks fool you. The Civic Del Sol was the successor to the CRX, which was definitely a ball of fun. And the Del Sol was the younger, more nimble version of the CRX, with a cockpit that's directed towards the driver and a buttery smooth shifter that we all know and love from Honda. Plus, this thing had exceptional build quality. And the fact that you could remove that target top for topless motoring is definitely an A+ in my book. Now, the Del Sol came in 3 different versions: the S, the SI, and the VTEC. The S had the 1.6 liter engine and only put out 106 horsepower. The SI had a 1.6 liter and put out about 20 more horses than the normal S. And the VTEC, which had the 1.6 liter dual overhead cam VTEC motor, also known as the B16A3, putting out 160 horses and redlined at 8,200 RPMs. And you want to consider getting any version as long as it's the VTEC, which luckily you can find for under $3,000. Now, 160 horsepower and a 2,300 pound curb weight, 0 to 60 comes in a little less than 7.5 seconds. But it's the fact that this car is so small and nimble, which is where it really earns the extra credit. And the Del Sol is definitely a great alternative to the Mazda MX-5. And word on the street is that it might have even better handling and braking. But who cares, because when you can throw a turbo on one of these things, yeah, Honda reliability with the turbo. Life can't get much better than that. Now, the Dodge Neon SRT4 is not your typical Neon. This is the performance version of the compact sedan, with an aggressive look that has the power to back it up. I mean, clearly, this is no regular Neon. Pop the hood and you have a 2.4 liter single overhead cam 4-cylinder staring right back at you. But it's that Mitsubishi turbocharger unit that makes you realize that this thing means business. And yeah, I get it, the SRT4 isn't everyone's cup of tea, if you even drink tea. But with 215 horsepower under the hood, you can hit 0 to 60 in just 5.6 seconds, and it sounds like this. Tea or no tea, this thing is a bag of fun, especially when the boost comes on and the power just explodes. Now, even though they were successful, they only built these things for 3 years. And yes, this one's almost $3,600, but with some ideal negotiation, you're gonna get it for $3K. The Neon SRT4 is a cheap, affordable performance sedan. And can we just listen to that throaty exhaust one more time for good measure? That is amazing. Now, just remember, the more stock, the more reliable, and probably not as much fun. But just remember that. The more stock a turbocharged car is, the more reliable it's gonna be. What did you want to be when you grew up? Was it an astronaut, a firefighter, or a policeman? Yeah, you can make all your wildest childhood dreams come true and pick up a Crown Vic P71. And they built these things from 1992 all the way up till 2011. And they literally dominated police forces throughout North America. And what's great is that for 12 years, the Crown Vic's design didn't change. And it was a pretty simple recipe: V8, rear wheel drive, and steel on frame design. V8 powered and rear wheel drive. Donuts, anyone? Now, if you end up picking one of these up, you're gonna be asked all the time, where can you get one? Well, it's actually pretty easy. Easy and cheap. You can get them at any police auction and snag them all day long for under 3,000 bucks. And promise me one thing, if you do snag one of these with a 4.6 liter V8, throw some Flowmasters on it and let her rip. Just remember, you are driving an ex-police car, so you're gonna garner a ton of attention on the road, which would probably also help you be one of the most popular kids in school. Just remember, with that added attention, you are going to also stick out a little bit. And so just don't get pulled over by a current cop in your ex-cop car. That would be bad. So I guess what I'm saying is just don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Yeah, The answer to everything. You guys remember the original MX-5 with those pop up and down headlights? Yeah, I know we all love them, but the reason that Mazda had to do a design change was that those headlights didn't pass pedestrian safety laws anymore. So this NB Miata was produced. And it's a little bit more refined, a little bit bigger, more aerodynamic, and just overall a little bit more sorted. But one thing's for sure, this thing was just as much fun because you got the front engine, rear wheel, 50-50 weight distribution, which equates to a perfectly handling sports car. And what's absolutely crazy is you can pick these things up for under 3,000 bucks all day long. The motor's lively and it puts out decent horsepower, making this thing a ton of fun to drive even at the limit. It's a fantastic budget sports car and it's gonna give you a ton of driving enjoyment, just like these 5 dirt cheap cars with over 400 horsepower. Or check out what YouTube recommends you watch next. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe, but either way, you can't lose, and as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.